Good morning. I am Holly Hillier, and for those of you who do not know me, I am the supervisor of the Land Management Unit in the Division of Materials and Waste Management for Ohio EPA Central Office. Today, I would like to share with you the revisions to the daily log of operations for municipal solid waste landfills. These revisions will become effective on January 1st, 2023. So there's time for everyone to become familiar with the changes and to allow for outreach to our regulated community. This document has had minimal revisions over the past 20 years. However, since this time, we have had several rule revisions, so it seemed like a good opportunity to update the form. The changes to this form reflect revisions to various rules, is designed to improve usability by both the operators and inspectors, and provides ease of annual reporting for the operators. With that being said, let's begin. First off, we reorganized the order of the paperwork. The instructions have been moved to the beginning of the document, followed by the yearly cover page. We removed some sections that were not needed, and we added sections for scale certification, PTI number, and alternative daily cover, ADC approvals. On Form 2A, we removed the totals table at the bottom and the signature requirement, including the warning of violation for ORC 2921.13 for failure to provide accurate information. We added a couple new solid waste types and streamlined the form. On Form 2B, we designed a smaller, easier to use totals box to account for fees and total authorized maximum daily waste receipts, AMDWR, for the day. We refined the operator's inspection checklist to reflect what currently is in rule, and we added a section for leachate, sump, and tank readings. We clarified the weekly sedimentation inspection checklist to again reflect what is currently in rule. So let's take a look at the daily log. Beginning with Form 1, the yearly cover sheet, you can see we added a few items. Because these items don't change often throughout the year, we decided to include them on the yearly cover sheet, thus providing a quick upfront reference for both the inspector and the owner-operator. The scale certification is for all scales used to weigh the incoming loads of waste and can be found here. Next up is the current PTI number and approval date. Again, very handy information to have readily available. This new section is for the facility's AMDWR. Quick information for the inspector and the owner-operator. This is also a new section created in response to inspectors and landfill operators. Here you will find all the types of ADC and the date each ADC was approved for use at the site. This provides the inspector with a convenient resource so they will be familiar with what could be or should be in use at the landfill. Form 2A is essentially the same form, but with a few new items. Beginning with the unique vehicle ID number. We wanted to capture the amount of incoming waste transported by rail to the landfills. This is a frequent question we receive, but we didn't have that information readily available to us. The second area we added items to was the categories of waste types. This is a section at the bottom of the page with the abbreviations. For example, if a load of waste coming into the landfill was by rail, the owner or operator would need to indicate the waste load using the unique vehicle ID number followed by the letter R for rail. However, if the waste load was from a truck, semi, any other form of transportation, the owner or operator would just record the unique vehicle ID number. We added a new additional municipal solid waste type, municipal solid waste sludge. We didn't require this data to be recorded in the past. However, we were often asked for this information, and this is a waste type we are interested in tracking. We have had solid waste as an alternative daily cover waste type for a little while now. However, we just wanted to remind everyone again of this newer waste category. We have a new waste type for industrial or manufacturing waste, shale drilling waste. We wanted to track the amount of this material being received at Ohio's landfills. This information was only available from the landfills that received this type of material, but we didn't always know which landfills were accepting this waste stream. This is information we wanted to track, and we wanted to use this information to evaluate what impact, if any, this had on any landfill that accepted the waste type. Here are the areas on Form 2A that we updated or clarified. Under the Unique Vehicle ID number, if the waste container is able to be removed from the vehicle, the owner or operator would need to record the container's unique vehicle ID number and not that of the transporting vehicle. We also changed the term exempt waste to excluded waste. Excluded waste is a term that we have in rule, so we wanted to make it consistent. We included wording clarifying when CNDD is to be recorded as a solid waste. Only CNDD that meets the definition of Ohio Administrative Code Rule 3745-400-01 may be classified as CNDD. Do not log CNDD as excluded waste. Loads of CNDD mixed with solid waste must be logged as municipal solid waste. Finally, the signature requirement was difficult if there were multiple individuals completing or entering data into the log during the course of the day. No one individual would be able to affirm the information was true and accurate. Thus, the signature requirement has been revised to be the name of the person completing the form for the day, even though there may have been several individuals entering the data. Here is the new requirement for the name of the person completing the form. It is in the same location that the signature was once located. This is a new page we added to the log. We moved the totals table to this page. Before, the totals of waste received was on each page of the incoming materials form. This limited the amount of space for entering waste loads and was difficult to use. Thus, we pulled the totals out into their own form. We also added some new items, such as the ANWR total for the day, and streamlined the table format to only account for those waste types that fees are required to be paid. These changes provide the inspector and the owner-operator a quick check of the total waste received for any particular day, summarized on one form. Here you can see the location of the ANWR daily total. Here is the location of the waste types that have fees. This change was to help landfill owner-operators avoid overpaying the fees. Form 3 is not a new form. However, we revised the document to reflect what the operator is to inspect daily. These are components of the landfill that are called out in rule. We also added a few new items. Here you can see the number of landfill components to be inspected by the operator has been greatly reduced to reflect what is in rule. OAC Rule 3745-27-19 only requires the owner-operator of the landfill to inspect for ponding, erosion, leachate outbreaks, a discussion of any corrective actions taken, the date, and weather conditions. This is a new section on the Daily Operator Inspection Checklist. Equipment in operation at the facility today. The owner-operator is to identify what equipment is in operation for that day at the landfill. This information notifies the inspector as to what equipment should be in use or not at the site. On the second page of the Daily Operator Inspection Checklist, we added a new section for the landfill owner-operator to record the leachate levels within the sump and in the leachate storage tanks. But this section is only optional. There is no requirement for the owner to record this information. However, this information provides the inspector and the owner-operator data regarding the amount of leachate on the liner and the volume of leachate in the storage tank. Form 4 is not a new form either. As with Form 3, we revised the form to meet what is in rule and to clarify the language. OAC Rule 3745-27-19 requires the owner to inspect sedimentation ponds, sedimentation pond discharge structures, including pipes, ditches, and culverts, weekly for erosion, clogging, or failure, and to take prompt corrective action if necessary. The results of the inspection, discussion of any corrective actions taken, any water quality samples taken, the date, and the weather conditions are to be recorded on the form. As you can see, the language is directly from the rule and is easier to understand, thus making easier to determine compliance for both the inspector and the owner-operator of the landfill. This concludes our overview of the revisions to the Daily Log of Operations for municipal solid waste landfill facilities.